What we've got today, we've got a Volvo V40 and the steering lock is not working on it. So what we've got, or basically what that means, the car won't start. You put the key in and we turn the key, all the ignition lights come on, but you don't get any sort of clicking or clunking from the steering wheel, and it just won't start. The message we're getting on the screen, it says turn steering wheel and try again. Well, the steering wheel isn't actually locked. The steering lock hasn't locked into the steering wheel, but the car thinks it has. The car thinks that the steering lock is still engaged. So something somewhere within that steering lock mechanism is jammed up. First thing we're going to try is the battery reset, which is always the first place to go in anything like this, any of these weird electrical faults. So let's get ourselves under the bonnet. And we'll disconnect those battery terminals. We'll just link the two together while they're disconnected from the battery, and that'll drain down all the circuits within the car. We'll try that. If that doesn't work, then we'll have to try something else. So the battery reset hasn't worked, which means we've got to try something different now. The only thing I can think of with this, which I've had in the past, similar faults with these electronic steering locks. So let's try and dig it in. Let's get in there. Let's take the cowling off. We'll take the tray off the bottom. We'll get underneath and we'll see if we can figure out how to sort this one out.
As always, first thing to do is give it a bit of a bash. So I'll crack that steering lock off there underneath the height adjuster and give it a good bang. Give it a good bang, look, just to see if it frees something off. But it's not made any difference. So let's get into the mucky bits. Let's try and take off this cowling. So underneath there you've got 3 Torx bit screws. So we'll whiz those out. 2 up near the steering wheel and 1 down the bottom. This cowling is a bit of a pig to get off because it's got a metal reinforcing inside it. It's obviously to stop the criminals bashing it and breaking it easily. So they put this metal reinforcement in there, which makes it really, really tough. Ideally, you want to be taking the steering wheel off, but I don't want to get involved in that. You've got to release the airbag and stuff. And I know I can get this off without taking the steering wheel off. So get a screwdriver down the back of that top cowling and just pop off. There's little clips that just hold it in place and then it comes away. So once we've got the top bit off, we can then move down to get this bottom kick panel off. It's only held on with 4 screws. Again, all the same size Torx bits. We'll just whiz those off underneath there near the bonnet release. We'll just undo that one as well. Pop that out. You can see that the side there is the OBD socket if you ever need to do diagnostics on one of these. And then this one here, just by the clutch pedal. Same thing again. TX25. We'll just whiz those out. Grab hold of that side panel there and pull it, and it's just on little clips, so that just pulls away. We'll get that out of the way. and then this now is just held on with a few more push clips. They're a bit fiddly and a bit tight, so you pull that top one out there, move to the other side, and the center console, there's a panel just behind the center console, and if you just pull that out, it'll make life a whole lot easier. As you can see, I'm in a bit of a stuck situation there without taking that one behind the... Here we go, you've realised there, look, we pop that centre console one out, and then it allows you to get this kick panel out the way. So there we go, it's out. Well, nearly. There it is. Get rid of that, let's have that out of the way. Okay, so now we can see what we're up against with this cowling. Like I say, because I've not took the steering wheel off, it's going to be tight. I'm going to have to just stretch it slightly, but it's nothing that we can't get round. We'll give it a prise it a little bit and just work it. You've got to get it over that adjuster for the steering wheel height, but just by prising it and pulling it out slightly, we'll be able to ease that out. I need to eat some more Weetabix and take my porridge and the spinach. Give it a good tug. Come on, you can do it. You can do it. Here we go, look, prise it away. It's nearly there. It's tight though, like that metal reinforcement inside there makes it really stiff. Look at that. Look at that metal plate. You can tell it's a Volvo. They don't shy away from adding metal to the car. And now you can actually see that mechanism. You've got the wires that come down there, it's got a connector plug into the side of it, and that unit there that's just a bit wiggly, that's the one. We can have a good look at this now. We've got the connector plug there on the side, and on the top of it there's a tab. We can just push that tab and then pull the plug off, just to make sure it's not got a bad connection, or there's some issue there with the wire. We can just pull that off, have a look at the plug, make sure all the pins are there, which everything's good. Let's stick that back in again. Yeah. That there is one of the shear bolts that holds it on, and there's one on the other side as well. So we've got two shear bolts. If all else fails, we'll whip those shear bolts out and take it off. That's the other shear bolt there, look.
So once we've got at it, we'll give it a good smack with the hammer. Give it some beastings and see if that frees it off. Sometimes a good tap can sort it and just dislodge something if a mechanism's got jammed.
Go on, give it a bash. Tap it up either side, bottom, top, round the edges, just to see if it makes any difference to it. And unfortunately, it's not.
This one is still jammed up. Give it a smack, give it a bash, it still won't free off. So we're going to have to now remove the steering lock. Now on this one it's held in with these two shear bolts either side. I'm going to have to tap them round. Sorry about the footage because I've got the camera in the wrong place, but here we go. I'm really sorry you couldn't see what I was actually doing there, but this is the shear bolt that we removed from that steering lock. And what you get when these are new, they come with a 10mm head on them. And as you do them up, as soon as they get tight, it snaps off, which just leaves this rounded dome that was obviously sitting in that, holding that steering lock on. The only way to get this off is to chisel it off. So what I'm doing is putting the chisel onto the side of it and tapping it, tapping it, and tapping it, and tapping it, and tapping it, and rotating it by tapping it round. So it's just bang, 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 and eventually you'll work it out enough to get the pliers on the end of it, and then just turn it with the pliers. Once they're all out, we give it a little tug and out it comes. Clean as a whistle though. It doesn't look bad at all, but there's nothing to see externally, it's all internals. So you've got a little motor inside a mechanism that just releases that little tab which locks into the steering column. That's where the problem is. Now as soon as we've took it out and tried it, you can hear the mechanism has freed itself off. So there's obviously something in there that's jamming. Now what I'm going to do is obviously start the car and we'll just try it and make sure it's okay. There it is, look, fires straight up. So that mechanism has freed off, there's something going on inside it, it's jamming. So what I'm going to do is now lubricate
this mechanism with some duck oil, some very light oil that I can put inside it, and hopefully that will stop it happening again. It's one of those, suck it and see. It'll either stop it happening again, unless there's an actual issue with this, in which case you can just swap it out and change it for a new one. So I've had a really good look at this, can't see anything amiss with it, it's all internal. So let's get that lube in there. I'm just going to put it straight in the top, and there's a tiny hole in that little bit of black there. I'm just going to put a dribble in there as well, and that should get into the actual gubbins of the mechanism. So let's get it back into the hole. Just can remember which way round it came out, that's the hard bit. We'll lift that up and drop it in. Just watching me don't trap them wires as it goes back up. Slot it into place, and obviously now we've took those shear bolts out, we're not going to put them back in again. We're going to just replace them with standard 10mm M6 bolts. So we've got to make sure that they're not too long. They've got to be the same length as the original ones. Obviously they're going to be easier to get out. So if this doesn't work, if we do have an issue with this in the future, them little 10mm bolts there, we can just waz them out really quick, and we haven't got to tap those shear bolts to get it out. So just whiz them up with a little Facom ratchet. I love this little ratchet, it's got really fine teeth on it, you can hear it as it goes up. It's beautiful, beautiful little ratchet. Anyway, enough about that. Let's get this steering lock back in. One of those either side. There's not a great deal holding that up, to be fair, but I suppose the locking mechanism is all about the sidewards movement. Okay, so that's that back up again. Just get that wire tied in place, and then we can start putting the cowlings back up. Now, we struggle getting it off, so we're going to struggle getting it back on again a little bit. We've got to get that adjuster through the bottom of it, and then we've got to stretch it past the steering wheel. So again, it's got quite a bit of give in it, the plastic has. We'll give it a bit of a wiggle and a battle and a wrestle, and with a bit of heave-ho and a good push and stretch, I will get this back on again. Like I say, the last thing I want to do is take the steering wheel off with the airbags and stuff involved. It's just not a nice thing to get involved in. Not if we can help it anyway. But you can see it's just starting to slip past it, it's nearly there. Again, just wiggle it around that adjuster, and it's getting up there. Bingo, it's in. So that's the bottom part in. We're just going to slip the top part on, and that just literally push clips into the bottom part. So what we're doing here is just feeling round the plastic, making sure that it's all clipped in, and that the bottom plastic is in place and pressed up nice and tight against that steering column, so those screws will go in. So we know that's fitting flush at the top, so that's all good there. We're all lined up. Let's whiz these screws in. Like I say, 3 of them into that cowling underneath. We'll get that bottom kick panel back in again, clip those in at the top, clip it there, clip, push that up, get it all into place. It just pops back in again, simple as. It's just tricky lining up the clips, and you know, the plastic gives a bit. Then we can pop these screws back in, always them back up, down the bottom there, bring them screws back in. There we go. Whiz that one up, look at him go. This side panel again just pushes on, just push clips straight in. And the last one behind the center console again just pushes in, push clips, 4 push clips, and that just pops back on again. Nice and easy. Try it one more time. Absolutely beautiful. So let's bag it up and shut that bonnet.
So I hope that's been of use to you. If you've had any issues with this, replacing the steering lock, and you've had some problems, drop me some comments in. I'd love to know about it. Drop me a little thumbs up. Like, subscribe.